15 Things You Didn't Know About HBO. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, and welcome to another exciting original video presented by Alux.com. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. Today we're revealing some interesting and surprising facts about HBO, the longest-running American premium cable network. Home box office, now better known as HBO, was established by Charles Dolan in 1972 with just a few hundred customers in a small region of Pennsylvania. The customer base quickly grew as HBO worked to widen their network and present premium programming including exclusive sports events, popular movies, and eventually original programming. Although HBO did have successful shows throughout their history, The Sopranos, which premiered in 1999, was the first show that brought HBO both critical success and awards nominations. Since then, HBO has had a number of acclaimed series, including Sex and the City, 6 Feet Under, The Wire, and True Blood, with the most recent successes being True Detective, Girls, and of course, Game of Thrones. HBO currently has 7 24-hour channels that are available in 150 countries worldwide, as well as a streaming service known as HBO Now. We're inspired by HBO's long-running success, innovative spirit, ability to entertain, and forward-thinking nature. So let's take a closer look now at this entertainment giant with the 15 things you didn't know about HBO. Number 1. HBO used to only air for 9 hours per day. For its first 9 years as a channel, HBO only offered 9 hours of programming per day from 3 p.m. to midnight. However, when Showtime came out with a 24-hour schedule in 1981, HBO decided to come out with their own non-stop programming to stay competitive. Number 2. HBO has 130 million subscribers worldwide. When HBO first launched in 1972, their entire subscriber base was 365 households in Pennsylvania. The company grew quickly though, and by 1977, HBO had 600,000 subscribers. This is still a very small number compared to the 49 million US subscribers and 130 million worldwide subscribers the channel currently has. Number 3. HBO's launch received almost no attention. When HBO launched as the first pay television service on November 8, 1972, almost nobody noticed. It was not covered by any local or national media outlets. The town manager of Wilkes Barre, where HBO was headquartered, declined an invitation to attend, not understanding the significance of the company. Even the president of Time Inc., who funded the company, missed the launch ceremony. It is now the oldest and most continuously operating pay television service in the United States. Number 4. HBO was the first television network to deliver its signal via satellite. For the first few years of their operation, HBO delivered their programming through microwave towers, but they realized that this was not a sustainable system. At the time, television broadcasters were hesitant about using satellites because they were expensive and considered unstable, but HBO decided this was the best option to expand their reach. On September 30th, 1975, HBO became the first television network to continuously deliver its signal via satellite, and the first programming distributed this way was the Thrilla in Manila boxing match between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Number 5. HBO was very unhappy with the Game of Thrones pilot. HBO acquired the rights to George R.R. Martin's novel series entitled A Song of Ice and Fire in 2007. A pilot wasn't ordered until a year later, but when the pilot was finally finished in 2009, it got very poor reception at a private viewing. HBO then had to decide if they were going to scrap Game of Thrones altogether. Fortunately, they made the decision to reshoot 90% of the pilot, with certain parts being recast, including the role of Daenerys, played by Emilia Clarke. Number 6. The first live sports event they broadcast was a hockey game. HBO is best known for broadcasting exclusive sporting events, but the very first sports event the channel broadcast was a 1972 hockey game between the New York Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks. This came a year after HBO broadcast their first film, a little-known drama called Sometimes a Great Notion, which starred Henry Fonda and Paul Newman. Number 7. HBO passed on Mad Men. Matthew Weiner was one of the writers on HBO's hit show The Sopranos. So when HBO had the option to pick up Weiner's new series, Mad Men, the executives wanted Sopranos creator David Chase to produce the series. When Chase declined the opportunity, HBO passed on the show altogether, and it ran for 7 highly successful seasons on AMC. Number 8. HBO paid Fox extra to air Star Wars 6 hours before its competitors. The original Star Wars movie made its pay TV debut in February 1983, and HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, and the Movie Channel all shared the rights to release it. HBO and Showtime were very competitive, and each hoped to show the popular movie first. They both scheduled the movie to play at 6 a.m. on the morning of February 1st, the earliest that the licensing deal would allow. However, that wasn't good enough for HBO. They went back to Fox and paid an undisclosed amount to get permission to air the movie 1 minute after midnight, 6 hours before their competitors. The unscheduled and unannounced airing had almost no viewers, but HBO was satisfied with the bragging rights that they were the first channel ever to show Star Wars on TV. Number 9. Game of Thrones overtook Sopranos as their most-watched show. The Sopranos shattered records during its 6th season run on HBO with 21 primetime Emmy Awards and a record number of viewers. At its peak in 2002, The Sopranos averaged 18.2 million viewers per episode, which was more than any other HBO show had averaged up until that time. The show held the record for quite a while until Game of Thrones came along. In its first season, Game of Thrones only had 2.5 million viewers, but by its 4th season in 2013, the average hit 18.6 million viewers per episode to surpass The Sopranos, which had the record for 11 years. In its 7th season, Game of Thrones had an incredible average of over 30 million viewers per episode. Number 10. Dwayne Johnson is the highest paid actor on HBO. A number of actors and actresses on HBO earn hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is at the top of the list, earning $650,000 for every half-hour episode of Ballers. He is followed by Emilia Clarke, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, Peter Dinklage, Kit Harington, and Lena Headey, actors from Game of Thrones, who earn $500,000 per episode. Sarah Jessica Parker earns $275,000 for each episode of Divorce, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus earns $250,000 per episode of Veep. If you want to learn some more about Dwayne Johnson, click in the upper right-hand corner to watch our video of 15 things you didn't know about The Rock. Number 11. HBO has more Emmy nominations than any other network year after year. HBO has received more primetime Emmy nominations than any other network for 17 years straight. 110 of these nominations have come from Game of Thrones, which as of 2017 has received 38 primetime Emmy Awards. This means that the show has eclipsed the longtime record holder Frasier, which had 108 nominations and 37 wins. Frasier had held the record since 2004. Meanwhile, Saturday Night Live stands as the television show with the most Emmy Awards overall, with 231 nominations and 64 wins in its 43 seasons. Number 12. HBO was supposed to be a temporary name. The creator of HBO, Charles Dolan, originally thought he would call it The Green Channel, but by the time of its release, Dolan and the other executives working on the project settled on the name Home Box Office, or HBO. This was intended to be a working title that was used to meet deadlines to publish research brochures for the service, but the temporary title was never changed. Number 13. 20% of Time Warner's income comes from HBO. Time Warner is the third most successful entertainment company in terms of revenue behind Comcast and Walt Disney, and this is largely due to the success of HBO. Time Warner posted revenues of $23 billion in 2017, and HBO was responsible for 20% of this total, with revenues of around $5 billion. Time Warner also owns Warner Brothers, CNN, DC Comics, The CW, and 10% of Hulu. Number 14. HBO bought the exclusive rights to Sesame Street in 2015. Sesame Street is a famous children's show that debuted on public television in 1969. Generations of children have grown up with the popular characters of Big Bird, Oscar the Grouch, Elmo, and many more. With 167 Emmy Awards and 8 Grammy Awards, Sesame Street is the most award-winning children's show ever. For nearly 50 years, the show aired on PBS, the U.S.'s national public service station, but due to budget cuts, the show had to look for funding elsewhere. HBO jumped at the opportunity and signed an exclusive licensing deal with the program that stated that all new episodes would air first on HBO, then 9 months later they would air on public television. This is part of a trend for HBO to expand more into children's programming in an effort to diversify their streaming portfolio. Number 15. It cost over $100 million to make Season 7 of Game of Thrones. HBO gave the makers of Game of Thrones a $100 million budget for their 7th season, which works out to an average of $10 million per episode for the 10-episode season. This was up from $6 million per episode that was allotted for earlier seasons. It makes it one of the most expensive shows per episode ever made. For comparison, Breaking Bad cost $3 million per episode. Lost was $4 million per episode. Orange is the New Black was also $4 million per episode, and House of Cards is $4.5 million. The most expensive television show to produce was ER, with an average of $13 million per episode, and Friends also had a budget of $10 million per episode, which mostly went to actor salaries. Now that you've learned some more about HBO, we'd like to know, which do you prefer, HBO, Netflix, or Showtime? Let us know what you think in the comments. Still here? Here's a bonus fact just for you. Game of Thrones set a Guinness World Record for largest TV drama simulcast in 2016. Since 2012, Game of Thrones has been the most pirated television program worldwide, so in an effort to get around illegal downloading, HBO live broadcast the second episode of Season 5 simultaneously in 173 countries. This beat the record that was previously held by CSI by 2 countries. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxer. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. If you want more, we handpicked these videos you might enjoy, or head over to Alux.com for the best in fine living content on the planet. Be a part of the largest community of luxury enthusiasts in the world and tell your story.